Well, hello everybody. Welcome to No Labels, No Walls Action Monday. Today is June 7th. And my name is Kevin. I am from Connecticut. And as always, I'm just hope everyone's doing well. Just wanted to share that I pulled my muscles during the weekend, so I'm resting my legs up. Not pleasant, but I hope everyone's doing great. Let's go around the horn before we start today. Marcus, how are you?
Thank you, Kevin. This is Markus Vähälä from Finland. I'm feeling very well and very excited to talk about redemption today with Pamela and Penelope. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, Mary, how are you? Did you want to take over, or do you want to?
No. Oh, Kevin, you can continue. You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. But before that, how are you? How are you and Michael?
I'm good, thank you. I'm here in Los Angeles from the Strindberg Laboratory, and I'm really excited. Today's theme, redemption. Thank you.
And how are you, Michael?
Oh, I'm talking for Michael. For once, I get to do it. He's well as well. He's awesome. Busy there sharing this event.
Thumbs up if you can hear me. Blink one if you can hear this.
Yes.
All right. How are you, Layla? How are you?
I am very well, thank you. It's absolutely glorious sunshine here in UK. We've had it for quite a few days. Yes, it's
marvelous.
Lovely.
Marvelous. How about you, Jack? How's it over there overseas?
All well here, but it's been for me personally, a heavy week because there have been tragic revelations that are not a surprise about the graves or the unmarked graves of 215 children, Indigenous children, at one of the about 400 residential schools. So although this has been known for those who care, for some time, it's finally hit the news and is creating quite a reaction of awareness, which is really, really good.
Keep on the face. All right. Linda, Linda, how are you?
I'm all right. Thank you. Greetings to all. I'm here with Jack in Toronto with Inclusion Press. And it's good to see you all, and I'm looking forward to this topic. It's timely.
And how are you, Keith?
Yeah, I am. So I'm sitting here in nice sunny Glasgow. And I've had a very nice few days because one of my daughters has been staying here. And we haven't seen her for 6 months, so that's amazing. And now we're a wee bit sad because she's gone away again, but there we are.
I was about to say, did you shave?
I did, yeah. I did, yeah. Summer look.
What's his name? How are you, Julian? How do you pronounce your name?
Julian, it's fine. Hey, Kevin.
How are you?
Hi, everyone else. Yeah, I'm good. Just here in Helsinki and coming back to learn more about what everyone else is doing within the space. And thanks for having me.
Okay. And let's see who else. Pamela, how are you?
Good day to everyone. I am doing well. I am in the United States and I am in Maryland. So really excited to be here.
And how are you, Penelope?
I'm well. Excited to be here. Like Pamela, I'm in the Maryland area, closer to DC than she is. So we both live in Maryland and work in DC.
Good to meet you. And how are you, Neasley? Good morning.
Good morning. I was sick the entire week. The entire weekend. So I mustered up enough strength. Like Jack, it just been last week was a heavy week, from the graves to just all the information coming out about Tulsa and all the ways things were buried. Just not surprising, but another disappointing feeling about this country we love and care for so much. So yeah, but other than that, I'm good. I'm happy to be here with my friends. Penelope, which is so odd for me to say, and Pamela.
Penny is fine. Penny is fine.
Oh, good to see you, as always. And finally, Cole, how are you? You're on
mute.
My apologies, everyone. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm used to muting it because I'm usually at the coffee shop. It's kind of loud, but yeah, I'm at the coffee shop in Portland, Oregon. Doing good. Kind of ready to hear about this topic. I heard about y'all through I guess International Logic Party and Agora Citizens Assembly. So I'm kind of interested in to see what's going on. Always looking to connect with more of the at least activism minded and at least active people and thinkers. So I'm excited to hear what y'all have to say. So yeah, and I also left my blog website. If anybody is a weirdo in here, which I believe we all are, you can find some stuff on the blog, which is very weird. I do weird writing, so that's all.
Well, thank you, Cole. And once again, if you have if you're a part of an organization and if you want to share what you do, please post a link in the comment section below. We want to connect. Let's do that. Now, with that out of the way, I will turn the floor to our presentators. Who are Marcus? Who are we? Who do we have the honor of speaking with today?
We have Pam and Penny, and hopefully Neasley will also join the discussion together with us about redemption. So Pam and Penny, please, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, good morning here. Good evening somewhere else across the world. Pam and I just want to thank Neasley for this opportunity to connect with you guys. We met with her over 2 months ago. It was a great meeting. My name is Penelope Griffith. I'm the Director of Collaborative Solutions for Communities. I've been there for 25 years. And I've been working with young people, adults, and reentry population, those who are coming out of prison for quite a long time, for 30 years or so. I'm also a pastor, which I'm going to talk about. Part of my presentation today is to talk about the faith work that we do in our work in the Maryland, DC area as well. So I'll let Pam go ahead and introduce herself.
And hello to everyone. I am delighted to be here again. Also, thank you to Pastor Neasley for the invitation. I'm happy to be here with Penny. She's probably going to do more of the talking than me. She is the executive director of the agency, and I support her in whatever way that she needs. Very interesting. I never would have gone into doing work with the reentry population. That was not something that I had just intentionally focused on. However, through her prompting, her really, a lot of the prompting and pushing me, encouraging me, I have loved the work. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I really, it's been a tremendous blessing to be part of the work with returning citizens and more specifically to work with Penny. So thank you.
Okay, so I'm open to questions or anything you want to ask as I go along. I'm a fast talker, so I'm going to do my very best to slow it down today so that we can all stay on the same page, at the same pace. So just a little bit of background, as I said, that the collaborative has been in existence for We just have a small PowerPoint just to say who we are, where we are in DC. We'll put that in the link as well. Go ahead, Pam, go to the next one quickly. This is who we are. This is what we're about, families and organizations, solutions to transform our communities. Strong about transforming communities means that we also transform our families as well. So instead of just working with our families, we work with the community as well to make sure the families have the resources to transform their lives. Next one quickly. And this is some of the services we offer at our collaborative program: housing stability, economic workforce development support, youth violence prevention. We use our soccer programs for that as well. And this is a part I want to talk a little bit about success in reentry, bringing people out of jail and helping them to stay out of jail and to be successful at doing it. That's one of the things that we work really hard at doing. And the last one should be contact information, right? Yeah. So if you want to contact us, for those who want to reach out to us after this, this is our contact information. Pam will go ahead and put that in the chat so that you have that as we go forward. So I can just focus on having a conversation today. So I may have some questions for all of us, and I'm going to talk, but I may have some questions as well. The collaborative was created to provide child welfare prevention services to families to prevent kids from going into foster care. That's the reason why I joined the collaborative 25 years ago. My goal was to stop kids from leaving home and being placed into foster care. So my mission started back then. It was a hard experience. I've never done community social work. I've always saw myself as being a private practitioner, and that went out the window when I went into community work, doing community activist work and working and advocating for families. That took a lot of time, a lot of passion and commitment. But 25 years later, I'm still excited about what I do. I'm still excited about transforming lives and seeing people change every day. We moved from helping to keep kids home because in the US, kids were removed for parents not having the ability to pay the light bill, water bill, gas bill, any utilities or rent. That's 20 years ago. If you didn't have that resource, you will lose your kids to foster care. And what happened after that is that you and the child end up lingering in foster care for 6 months to a year because mom and dad could not find the resources to bring them home. And the part that really crushed my heart initially was then the kids get adopted. There was a long list of adoption, and the kids will be adopted just because mom could not keep up with utilities bills. So we end up getting a contract to help pay those bills as needed and then help the families be able to be successful afterwards. And so once we start paying the utility bills or the rent, then the number of kids going to foster care reduced tremendously. And we continue to do more of that at the same time, informing, strengthening, and providing the jobs that parents need in order to keep their kids at home. From that experience, we went into youth violence prevention work, which is another baby of mine because I've worked in ministry all my life with youth. And that's my strongest love and passion is young people, especially the ones who are fiery and full of energy. Even the ones who are carrying guns. I do see the ones who are carrying guns. I know they have guns. We have an understanding that they have a gun in them, but I know what I can and can't say with them. So those have been some of the things that morphed from child welfare to youth violence, and then we went into workforce development, and then we went into reentry. The reentry work is about women and men coming out of prison. Initially, we worked with only men for like 4 years coming out of prison and helping to stabilize them by finding them jobs and dealing with family crisis, child support issue. A number of men will end up in jail because they couldn't pay child support. And so we end up working with them to make sure they can do that successfully by getting a job or going to trade school or something like that so that they can be successful. One of the things I strongly believe personally, that anyone could change given the opportunity to change. It may not happen in a time frame that I would like to see it, but it would give it time with a lot of support, people can change. Given that opportunity. And I realized a lot of our families didn't have that opportunity or the awareness of what resources existed out there for them to tap into to transform their lives. So we spend a lot of time helping inform and educate and support our family and our community about what is available to make sure that they can make good decision or be successful in their lives. And I've seen with that attitude, I've seen a lot of great success with our families coming out of the poverty system, coming out of child welfare system, kids graduating from high school or college, because mom didn't make it there, but her child can, and walking alongside with mom and her family, you see them change. And so we apply that love and that unconditional love. We're talking about redemption today, that unconditional love that people can change, given the opportunity. There's hope in everyone. And maybe a murder coming out of jail for the last 25, 30 years of being in jail. Well, that person also has the ability to transform not just him or herself, but the community. And so our job is to get them connected to themselves about who they are, reconnected to life in the community, and also to give back into the community as well, so that they can stay out of jail and love where they are. So the workforce development piece came into play when we realized that our clients were going back into jail. And why? They didn't have the money to sustain or maintain living arrangements or any other financial needs. So we quickly had to create a work program which was what we needed, but we didn't know that. And so we learned a lot from the things that we did over the years. And so with the workforce development program, the question, Kevin?
Continue, I'll wait after.
Okay. All right. So we have a workforce development program that is very thriving. This is where Dr. Pam came into play. I have lots of great ideas for you to get to know me. I'm always spinning with great ideas, and the staff usually want to put the brakes on me, but I don't let them put the brakes on me. And so if I can't do it, I know I can find somebody to do it. If the ideas show up, then somebody's able to do it. So I run with the idea, and if the team look at me like I've lost my mind, then I go find the person who can make sure it happen. So this is how Pam came into play. Pam was helping to organize the board that I needed help with the board, and she came in to help do that. And then she ended up working the program side, unbeknownst to her. And she's ended up helping to train a workforce development participant for over 3 years now, Pam, or 4? 4 years now. So she didn't see this coming. And so she was training them for 4 years now and helping them to find jobs and things like that with the team that she worked with. And then suddenly the reentry program came about. How do we work with men and women coming out of jail? And I needed somebody with Pam's skill again to work with that population, helping them to come out of jail and to be successful. So Pam is helping to do that as well. So that's how she's connected to. When she says she goes wherever she's needed, she's been a great trooper in helping with my creative skills to get the work done. So Pam has been doing some work over the years with the reentry population of healing and reconciliation. And I'm just going to describe the program, and then I'll ask Pam to talk about the program itself, what she does there. It's a program that I strongly believe that women, this is only for women now. It's about reuniting women with their kids and their family and loved ones. A number of women in the data has showed that they go back into jail because of the rejection that they experience once they come out of jail. And so a lot of families that come get your kids, come get, your grandma, come take your child. Their aunt will say, come take your kids. And they're not ready for that. They're still emotionally wounded. They're still traumatized. And they have not dealt with the issue, what got them into the jail system. And now we're asking them to be parents in less than 2 months, in less than 30 days. You need to be a mom, get a place to live, get a job, and all those responsibilities on mom. And a lot of moms will tell me that they commit a crime, violate probation, just to go back to jail, to get away from the pressure of being a mom suddenly. And so we wrap ourselves around the moms before they come out of jail to prepare them for the family or the community response to them. We have what we call healing circles, where we educate mom about the need to reconcile with her child or children and with her loved ones. And the healing circles is a way to apologize for choosing a life of drugs, prostitution, whatever got them in jail, robbery, falsifying checks, whatever they did, choosing to make that decision to choose that way of thinking or that lifestyle and rejecting her family's responsibility. We bring them to that level of consciousness of how there needs to be an apology for the choices that you've made. And so there is a process that they write an apology letter to their kids and to their loved ones. Once they agree that there's a need for apology, not everyone goes through that process. And then we bring the family and the mom and her loved ones that she's invited to the meeting. And we prepare the family, the children, the cousins and aunts and uncles, whoever is involved, and even the teachers sometimes is involved, and pastors. And we prepare them for the meeting. It is not a meeting of how bad you are, what you did wrong. It's a meeting about what is needed to go forward. Even though mom is saying that this is what I did, I made that decision, it was not a good decision. Here's where I am, and here's what I need from you as my community. And so we give it the platform to do that. And then we ask each individual to respond to her as to how are they accepting the apology? If they do not accept the apology, what are they looking for? And 99% of the meetings go very well because of the preparation and the acknowledgement, just acknowledging the shortcoming of what has happened in this mom's life. That seems to just transform the entire attitude of the family, and the pressure to come get your kids and take them into a place to live with you. That pressure is reduced because we help the family members who have the kids. We help them to understand, give mom 6 months. Give mom 6 months. We'll provide, sometimes we provide food every other week for that household where mom is, because she's not working. And then we put mom through the workforce development training and other case management requirements. And then we help them go through the healing process through therapy and whatever else is needed. And the goal is that a lot of times the family is very happy about the outside support, but mom also feel very strengthened internally, but also feel more confidence and self-assured because of the success that she's seeing as she makes the steps towards reconciling with her family and becoming a mom by herself. So we see a reduction in the number of moms going into the jail system after this kind of service. I asked Pam to talk about her part in the program, and then we're going to go into the fake piece around healing and reconciliation.
Okay, yes, thank you. So with the Success in Reentry program, in the past, the collaborative had been going directly into the prisons, but of course, because of the pandemic, they were not able to do so. So more recently, we've been holding the sessions with women who are in a halfway house by Zoom. And so this has been very interesting because you're not physically there with them. Some of them are in the halfway house and some of them are on home confinement. And so they tune into Zoom and we have this session. So we do life skills sessions with the women. And one of the things that we find, as Penny was talking about, a lot of the women have experienced a lot of trauma before going into prison, but being in prison, many of them describe it as being a very traumatic experience. A lot of the things that go on while they're in prison, some of them have been, they've committed crimes in the past. For some of them, it's the first time they've ever been incarcerated. Some of the women have had very successful careers. One of the groups we did, I think it was towards the end of the year or towards the end of 2020, many of those women had 6-figure incomes, and was very interesting to work with them, very different group, but still a lot of the same mindset issues, behavioral issues. It's regardless of income, we find that, the trauma really affects them. So we do 8 weeks of life skills and we incorporate several curriculums. We have something called Merging Two Worlds curriculum, which is designed for reentry. And as part of that, we are talking about relationships. How do you have healthy relationships? We talk about communications. We talk about setting goals, boundaries, things like that. But a big part of it for us, as Penny mentioned earlier, is to demonstrate that we care. That is the most frequent comment that we get, not only in that program, but many of the programs at the collaborative, that people typically say, we can tell that you really care about us. And when we talk about redemption, and I'm sure Penny will get to this, that becomes huge. People can tell the difference when it's just about the numbers. And so I always reinforce to them that Penny, as executive director, she doesn't like to hire people or bring people in if they really don't care. If this is just about meeting the numbers, it's very important to meet the numbers, However, you really do have to care about the people. And so we find that the women in the reentry program really do experience that. So we deal a lot with helping them to tune into their emotions, really helping them to we build trust with them so that they can communicate very openly. And they do begin to share some very, very deep issues that they're going through. Sometimes it's with their children. We had a woman recently to share that her son had been molested while he was in prison, or raped while he was in prison, and he hadn't told anyone, and she didn't, and it really affected her coming into the group. So there is a case manager and then a therapist who actually comes and sits in on many of those sessions with us, or at least the program manager does a referral to, for additional services as the women need them. And so it becomes really important for us to be present during those sessions. Sometimes we have to deviate a little bit from what we were intending to do, because people may have they may be struggling with some things. So the goal is to help them to build better relationships, to value themselves better, to better understand that it's that they've made a mistake, but don't be defined by what you've done. You are not what you've done. And so we really try to reinforce that for them and to help them to learn to love themselves and to be open to receiving support, because it is a process. For some of them, they walk away and they still may be having some challenges, but the goal is to try to get them into other resources which the collaborative offers, or that the collaborative will refer them to, so that they can, really heal, as Penny said, and move forward in a healthy way. So I'll stop with that, unless you want me to talk about the workforce development.
I want to talk about your book first.
Okay.
Pam wrote a very interesting book. And when I heard the topic, I was like, what? It's a shocker. It says, I want my vagina back, right? And I'm like, what? And when I looked into the book, I was like, this is all of what I'm dealing with, the women coming out of jail. And it's not just much about the virginity of the woman, but it's the loss of power when most of the women we work with have been raped. Most of the clients I talk to, there's early onset of rape and molestation that a lot of our women are dealing with and cannot talk about it and have not talked about it. And that has spiraled them into making bad decisions along the way, because their self-esteem and their self-worth and their value has been affected by this trauma that they have been keeping a secret for a long time. Pam, put your book in there, because that book has been a very helpful tool in helping the women come into the reality. Yes, being molested for 5 years by your grandfather is not acceptable. Your brother and your cousin raping you every other night, that's not acceptable. And so the secret you're keeping that is traumatic, and how it has led to many bad decisions along the way. And people say, well, I've been raped, but look at your life. Look at some of the decisions you have made. You may be a wealthy person, but still there's an impact of trauma. You can't cover trauma up. It comes out in many different ways. So once the woman started studying Pam's book and reading on it, and she went through that with them, there was more discussion and a lot of revelation, a lot of sharing, and just unpacking the truth about who they are and how they arrive at the places where they have, ended up at in jail or in bad relationship, domestic violence. A lot of DV with our women, lots of DV issues with our women along the way. And again, seeing their kids molested by their boyfriend, it didn't faze them, because that's what happened to them as well. And so the book is a shocker, but it's such a book about the truth of who they are and how they arrive at some of the decisions that they've made along the way. Pam, you could go ahead. And no, Kevin, you had a question before we go forward. Do you want to say it now?
Well, Naomi had a question actually, and she wrote it in the chat. It was what exactly was child support, but I don't know if we're too far in the conversation to go back on it.
So child support is when the fathers who are supposed to be taking care of the kids and they're not paying the money every month, they're supposed to pay a certain amount of money towards their child or children. And if they're not doing that in our system here, you can go to jail for not doing that. which is another crisis that we're going through. So the question for me, okay, now they're in jail, so who's really paying child support? Nobody is, right? So it's a vicious cycle for, I think, in the American system. It does not make sense. We do not make sense a lot in what we do when it comes to justice and things like that. It's not common sense. It really is not.
Hi. We have here in the United Kingdom, we have so many overcrowded jails and overcrowded prisons, and yeah, they are just so full, and it's just an absolute nightmare. And yeah, they are just, yeah, they're not really treated very well here. They're not as well treated as they are in your in the US, because they don't have very many activities, because we don't have enough money to go and run things in our English prisons, and they just spend way too long in their rooms. And yeah, we need more money, but the government just, they are a bit selfish. Yes, so your prisons get a lot more, they are a lot more better. Well, your government is probably a lot better with their money.
No, our system probably is worse than yours. It's horrible. A lot of young people who commit a crime back in the day, the very first 4 years of the Obama reign with Biden, it was a horrible 4 years for me for when it comes to young people.
Okay.
And a number of young people are locked up. Great as Obama was, I still have an issue with the fact that a number of young people are locked up for marijuana or small amount of cocaine, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, something like that, right? But a white collar crime will be out in 3 years, 2 years, sometime, depending on what the white collar crime is, right? And so it was targeted for the minority. It was targeted. So we have a lot of, we're not going to go into that, but we have a lot of biases in the way the system is set up.
They're not,
disruptive.
But your prisons are not so overcrowded, are they?
Oh yeah, we do have that too. Yeah, we do.
Oh, okay.
Very much so.
Fair
yeah,
enough.
yes.
And I think at one time, the other part was that in our prisons, there was a lot of focus on rehabilitation. We don't see that in the same way. People could go to prison many years ago and get a degree, and a lot of that was removed from the prison. So there's not as great of emphasis on rehabilitation as there had been. And you see a lot of violence that go on in the prisons. You've got gangs in the prisons and all kinds of things that occur that result in people coming out being more traumatized than they were going in. And one of the things, and Penny can talk about this a little bit better, but you see particularly the men who go in and get raped. They are physically assaulted, things like that. But then they come out, have families. They don't want to talk about what has occurred when they were in prison. And so they're finding ways to cope, things like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of young men that I work with, as I said, the youth are part of my work for a number of years. When they got locked up 10, 15 years ago for a small bag of marijuana or cocaine use, they spend 10 years in jail. And then if they commit a crime at age 14 and 15 in this country, you could be tried as an adult. So, you're prime meat, sorry to say that, going into the prison system. So a lot of our young people are more hardened when they come out, more angry and more traumatized because they were raped when they went into prison. And they would tell me, not in detail, but what happened to me, I can't tell you what happened to me. But, and so that's explained the high number of use of drugs again, back to using marijuana, which has been legalized, which is another issue for me, because now it's taken to another level of dependency and not dealing with trauma. So we decide to allow the young people in this country to self-medicate themselves to the use of marijuana for whatever reasons. I'm not going to go into that. We all have an opinion about that. But I see the impact of that on the street more than anyone else, and how it really does not allow them to come into touch with who they are. I have walking zombies on the street right now because it's been legalized and they have a right to do what they need to do. Okay, so now we have zombies walking around and not even present half the time because they're high all the time, right? And we want to know what's wrong with the young people. So I'm getting into my youth discussion. Let me get into the faith-based part of the work that we do.
Can I talk about the workforce development for a second?
Sure, please do.
I'll do about that really quickly. But with the workforce development, one of the things I wanted to mention is that you have, we incorporate several different curriculums. One is we use the tenets of solution focus. Penny is an expert in that area. And so she likes to make sure that the tenets of solution focus are infused throughout pretty much most of the work that's done at the collaborative. And so with that, we use things like the scaling question. We always open up with, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling today? Because that gives us, as part of the training, some idea of where people are. If they come in and they say, I'm a 1 today. So 10 meaning the highest, you're doing great. So if someone says they're a 1, that tells us something, and we're able to watch out for them and maybe not call on them or something like that. In addition to that, we use something called the 4 agreements. And so the 4 agreement says, is everyone familiar with 4 agreements, or anyone familiar with the 4? Okay, so we incorporate the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Always do your best. Don't make assumptions, and don't take anything personally. And so we incorporate that as part of the training, which helps them to hold each other accountable to that, because they do take a lot of things personally and they do make a lot of assumptions. The other part that we use with the specific curriculum that we use is called Thinking for a Change, or we use a modified version of something called Thinking for a Change, which is used, which was developed through the National Institutes of Corrections in the United States. And so with that particular curriculum, it helps us to walk through with them to learn how to regulate their emotions. So as Penny said, some of them come in and they're high. They come in the mornings, they've been smoking marijuana, they go out on their breaks, they're smoking more marijuana, even though the rules say they're not to do this, right? But she has a whole process to be able to deal with that. But so you have people who come in with high anxiety, they're rolling all over the floor, they're ready to get up. On Zoom, it's a little bit different. But with that particular curriculum, we are teaching them how to understand the feelings of others, how to tune into your own emotions, how to slow down, because they will go from 0 to 100 very quickly and they're angry. And so we use a lot of role plays to help them, and we deal with very real life issues with them that allows them to begin to see themselves, to deal with the emotions. We had one gentleman, because one of the things Penny says, look, this is not about just getting a job. We want to help you to be able to have a career and to maintain that job. So that's why that time is taken to really help them to process those emotions and deal with things, because a lot of times it's the family issues that are affecting them more so than anything. We had one gentleman that went home one day and his girlfriend was upset because he was coming to training, and she poured bleach on everything, all of his clothes, except for what he was wearing. Because he was learning those techniques in the training, he said, I stopped, because we teach them to put their fingers to their head as part of the curriculum to speak their thoughts. And so he stopped and processed his thoughts, and he said, and he came back to class the next day. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that particular, the curriculum that we use for workforce development, because it really does help them to regulate their emotions. And we see tremendous result by using the 4 agreements, the solution focused tenets, and thinking for a change. So Penny, I'll turn it back over to you.
Good. Any question before I transition? Okay. Kevin?
Yes.
Somebody else, sorry. Naomi?
Right. There's a question in the chat. Group says, are you networked with other people of group or groups doing with similar actions that you are doing?
No, not really. We do network in the DC area.
What does DC area mean?
Washington, D.C., sorry, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., Maryland area, but I network on the restorative justice work, the restorative justice work. I network on the international level with some of my colleagues. And we share what I do in DC as well. But I'm part of the restorative justice group that was formed here 2 years ago. But locally, we network with each other locally to help our families. Good question. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Oh, okay. So let me go a little bit about the redemption piece. As you can see, the work of the collaborative is structured around that. Our staff coming in to work at the collaborative, some of them are able to stay and some of them are not able to stay, right? Because you have to, as I said, you have to love what you do. And because our clients are not lovable all the time, they do not give you back what you give out. And so it cannot be about your feelings and it cannot be about how great you are. It has to be a very humble approach to help and transform individuals. And a lot of times as helpers, we see ourselves as, I'm here to help you. And so I work with the staff and said, no, it's because you have a job right now, because they are a client. So you need to humble yourself and be engaged and invite into that individual. Because of them, you have a contract. And to think about that person as if it was you at one point in life, it could be any one of us, and begin to think about what they are going through and be able to wrap yourself around that and see how you could be a transforming agent in this process. The client is not required to be perfect or to understand everything that they do, but we're required to work daily on ourselves. And as we work on ourselves, we will in turn work with our clients on themselves. As we gain insight into who we are, then we can transfer that information to the clients that we work with. So it's not just a job. It's not, as Pam says, it's not about numbers. It's about transforming the individuals to the way we work with them, how we communicate to them, how we respect their time, how we follow up with them, how we check on them, how we go beyond the call of duty for that individual. That says a lot about healing, reconciliation, and the redemption. It cannot be about the task. It has to be about the human factor. And a lot of times, some of my colleagues said, you're just too overly involved. Well, if it was me, I would like one of you guys to be overly involved in my life to help transform me, to kind of whack me a few times and wake me up from what I'm not doing, or motivate me in the best way possible to move forward. And so it has to be about that level of love and compassion. And so as on the side of faith, as I said, I strongly believe people can change. A lot of the work that we do, I pray a lot. I pray a lot about my clients. I pray a lot about my staff. I have to, because if I don't, I'll be totally stressed out. And so I have to spend time in prayer with the job, the issues I'm dealing with. I know I cannot make this work. It has not been able to do it by myself. Every time God gives me an idea about how to make things better, I am not the one executing the idea. Somebody else always come along and execute the idea and make it happen. And so I strongly say this to staff. Not every staff is a believer at the collaborative. No, they have many different religions. But I say to them, the fundamental thing is love. If we all believe whatever religion we have, if we believe that love is real, and not just love in the sense of the idea of love, but love in the sense of work, love in the sense of commitment, love in the sense of follow through, love in the sense of compassion. If you have that, then you're in the right place. If I don't see that, then I'm working on you not being there. I give everybody an opportunity. I tell them they have 6 months to decide if this is a job for you. I get to decide as well as you get to decide, because you have to go through a transformation when you come into the collaborative. It is not like every other organization. So I think people have a right to figure out if this is going to work for them, and the level of work and compassion and follow through and going to the ends of the earth. If that's that person, do they have it? Do they have it? And if it's not, it's okay, because not everybody can do this selfless kind of work. So because of prayer and fasting is really why I think we are where we are right now. It's nothing to do with how great or smart and wonderful we are. It has a lot to do with my faith and belief. And I'll share a story that I share with Pastor Neasley about a personal experience about what it means for redemption and healing. So I talk a good game about love and compassion and healing and redemption, right? And so I have an awesome bishop who probably I learn a lot from him. And he doesn't take no for an answer. So he comes back many different ways to get an yes. And yeah, but what 7 years ago, he approached me and said that there's a lady who just came to the church to visit. She came to the church and she was drunk. We had to help her into the church. She came in drunk, not even aware where she was, and we had to help her into the church, and she sat down. She had a water bottle in her hand, but I realized the water bottle was vodka. You could smell the vodka in the water bottle. And by the third time, she came back a third time, and he met with her, and he said to some of the pastors, we need to take care of her because she's not going to live too long if we don't intervene. And I'm like, great, we could put her into a drug treatment program if she's willing to go. And so I started thinking in my head where I can refer her to the drug treatment program. And he said, well, that may work traditionally, but that's not what I'm seeing God said. And I'm like, well, what does God have in mind? Because all I know is a drug treatment program for somebody who's addicted. She's been drinking vodka for 13 years, she said. She's been drinking vodka every morning for 13 years. First thing in the morning, all day long. She drinks 2 bottles, I think, or 3 bottles a day. And so he started saying that she needs a different kind of love and support. And so this is where my test came in from all my talking about unconditional love and compassion, is that finally he said she needs to live with somebody who can really watch her from day to day. And I'm like, well, who could that be? In the room, I'm still asking who could that be, because who would want to take an alcoholic into their home and nurse that person through that? That I know that is difficult. And I know that is even hard when you put them in an institution. And so finally, after the second meeting, he came back and said, well, I think we have the answer in the room. And I'm like, well, where's the answer? And finally he said, well, I think you have the space, Pastor Lisa, they call me Lisa, my middle name. You have the space and you have the many rooms that you're not using. I'm like, hold up. I work with this population. I deal with it all day long. When I come home, I want nothing to do with that level of crisis, nothing to do with that level of stress. This is not happening. I cannot bring somebody into my house and to deal with this. No way. And I said no. And I was adamant because I work with this all day long. Why would I want to live with it for a minute, right? And so he said, think about it. You don't have to say yes. And I said, oh, I'm thinking about it. The answer is no. So of course, if you really trust God, and if you really say you have faith in God, and you're going to get a wake-up call from the Holy Spirit to kind of wake you up. And so one of my early wake-up call was like, what are you saying no to? This is an opportunity for you to know what it means to love. I was like, I think I know how to love, but okay. So being obedient to the Holy Spirit, waking me up early morning, talking to me, I had to say yes. And the first 3 years, I thought it wasn't a nightmare. The first 3 years was hard. I didn't do a good job understanding the addiction. I thought I did. I understand all the theories about it being a disease, but I never lived with it before. So all of what I think supposed to work didn't work. And my bishop, he will call and check on us. He will call and pray with the young lady. And then someone tells me, you need to fast and pray to deal with this because you're not fasting and praying enough. And I'm like, okay, I don't see the need to fast about this. And after time, I realized I wasn't seeing any success. And I thought maybe I should listen to him and begin to fast and pray about the situation. So I did. And every week I had a day when I would fast with the young lady and pray. And it seemed to be getting worse. Of course, you know how that works. And she will go out and drink. And I'm like, what are you doing? We're working on success. Finally, after 2 years of going back and forth with her, praying with her, attending church, and my bishop, Senior Bulla, is praying with her. I begin to see, she said yes to going to AA. She wasn't going to go at first. Finally, she said yes to going to AA. I thought that was going to be a solution. She went to 2 sessions and said, I don't want to be there. And I thought, okay, is not going to work. And so with time, my whole entire household was upside down. I have a crazy work day at work. I come home to addiction and I come home to this, and I'm dealing with church as a pastor. And I thought, I can't do it all. And then suddenly when I think I was going to give up, she finally started turning the corner around and finally making the right decision. She got a job. Good. We got her car back because she was crashing cars from being, drunk, and got her license. Okay. Small steps, but it was 2 years before I started seeing this and realized that when my real love, I call the real love of compassion, kicked in, is that when I had more patience, endurance, compassion, when the real love in me actually kicked in, I noticed the difference with me and with the atmosphere in the household, and the change in her. And so I had to say, God, it took me 2 years to get here. But I needed to work out of myself theoretically, common sense wise, all of what I think about this, and begin to have a faith in God to see this person through their transformation. And she taught me a lot. And I'm grateful for the experience. She recently got married 2 months ago. She just got married, doing well. It's going on a number of years of her being sober. And she was very clear that her success in her recovery had nothing to do, of course, with Abe, because she didn't go, but it had to do with her spiritual journey and being in this environment with me and in the church, and watching people just keep, wrapping themselves around her and giving her opportunity to make mistakes and come back and try and fix it again. That was very transforming, to know that real love is actually given. It's not about saying. For me, I had to go through this to understand the depth of what is needed, and to understand what families are dealing with as well when they're dealing with addiction and drugs and things like that. Because it's not easy for me to say to a family, set some boundaries, set some rules in place, give them chores and all this stuff. I tried all of that. And it's when I really begin to see her as a transformed person, and not somebody who's addicted and has an issue, but the person that I know she could become, and begin to work towards that. And then I understand the plight of her families, how it's hard for them. It's not easy, but I also understand the plight of our clients. It's not an easy journey. It's not easy to give up the addiction. It's not an easy process. But for me, seen the spiritual transformation was so important. And so now she could give back to others, and she's there to witness to others about her life and how has it impacted her. And so I just want to say this in closing here, is that the spiritual journey of our clients, as I said to some of our pastors, it's important for us to catch them very early in our church. You could go to church all day long, belong to a ministry, belong to whatever religious system you have. But if you're not looking for the brokenness in your religion or in the systems that you worship, then it's unfair. You and I have a responsibility to look for the brokenness, to look for those who are needing, and not to be about our spiritual journey so much, but to look for those who you could help before they fall, before they go all the way down. And we have that responsibility to pay attention to our environment, to see the single mom who's struggling, or this dad who's struggling, or the young guy who's struggling, and to go after them deliberately, intentionally going after them. The world that we live in right now says me, myself, and I. It's been going in that direction for a long time. I think we finally into me, myself, and I, and all that's important to me is me. And I see more of that. And so just to encourage the listeners that we've got to get past just being spiritually concerned about ourselves, and to see and to seek out those who may need our support spiritually and naturally as well. And that I will end.
So there are 2 questions in the chat. What's going on with everyone's mind? Marcus and Mary and Michael have asked, how can we invite the people you meet with the No Labels, No Walls movement, for example, our Action Mondays and Citizen Fest? How would you like our network to support your work?
Okay, so I think one of the things we could probably talk about, spiritual awareness is one thing I would think about the top of my head, to have the need for more of that across the world, for us to come out of a religion mindset and to make it a mission for us to look for those who need support within our systems that we worship in. I think that will be one way to get the word out there. Locally, locally for in the DC area, I think just an awareness that you exist and you tap into many other resources or channels out there. I think that also would be helpful for us to connect with you about what we're doing, and I think that will be helpful just by connecting with you. Pam, is there anything you want to add?
I think that could be helpful. I mean, because I think once you connect with them, there may be opportunities for someone to come and share at one of the graduations, or, or as a speaker in general about different opportunities for people who are there, particularly in the workforce development.
We're always looking for speakers who could connect with our population. So that would be another wonderful thing, because we're on Zoom now because of course, the pandemic. But it would be great to capitalize on having people from all over the world who've been there, done that, to come and talk to our clients about their struggles and how they made it through. That would be great for the clients to see that.
And I'll give you a very quick example. One of the gentlemen during the training, I was talking to them about setting goals and dreaming big. Like, you've got to dream big, dream big. And one of the young men raised his hand and he said, can I say something? I said, sure. He said, you're assuming we know how to dream. Some of us are trying to survive.
Yeah.
And so the exposure helps them to look beyond where they are, and not just survive, to really begin to dream and to know what that means. So I think that would be great to connect.
I love it, because they'll realize that a lot of our young people have not left the community that they grew up in, and as well as adults, they haven't even traveled overseas or traveled across the country. And so we talk about different things out there in the world, because it's my hope that as we expand their horizon, expand their knowledge, that also helps them as well. So to have an outside speaker from a different part of the world who can connect with them, that would be awesome.
There needs to be less guns in the US. They seem to be they seem to have loads. They just to be loaded, and there doesn't seem to be, US doesn't seem to have a law that they follow, and UK has a law that that they do follow about using guns.
What we really have is a mental health crisis epidemic in this country.
Right.
That's the real issue.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm in San Diego, California, by the way, and I just came into this. I'm sorry, I didn't ask permission to speak. I'm sorry. Is it okay?
Yes, thank you. Yes, please.
All right. I just came into this, and I just woke up 30 minutes ago. I came in on a last minute invitation from a friend. I am overwhelmed right now. I relate on so many points. I've been, how should I say this? I've been exposed vicariously to a lot of these issues. I am a believer. I love what you said. Is your name Lisa or Penny?
Either one.
I'm going to call you Lisa because I'm Lisa.
It's Penelope Lisa. And so my family cover it goes in a row. I'm not schizophrenic. It goes back and forth. Penny and Lisa is fine. Yeah.
I'll call you Lisa because you're my sister.
Because you're Lisa. Okay.
Yeah. I'm in tears right now. I'm overwhelmed. I just woke up and this is a last minute invitation. It was like boom, boom, boom. Let's just say a lot of these issues I've been exposed to, and I'm going to hook you up with somebody in Atlanta who's doing similar work to you. I'm a people connector. My brain is going crazy right now, and I just woke up listening to y'all. I love your sign, Pamela. It says never give up, never give up, never give up. I love it. Never, never, never give up. Anyway, yeah, we have a mental health crisis. One of the things that I'm seeing, I was connected with the Black Baptist Church for 7 years. I was a member here in San Diego. It's one of the largest Black churches in San Diego County. And they started a mental health ministry about 3 years ago. And God would wake me up at various points and say, go to church today. And I'm like, why? Go to church, go back to baby. I'm like, why? And each time they were talking about the mental health ministry. And I love that. the pastor is so on fire for it. And we even skipped a sermon one day to do a mental health presentation. You know how big this is. It's
Yes.
huge, huge. Okay. Anyway, I'll connect with you somehow. And I'm kind of an ambassador for the Gabor Mate trauma movie that's happening this week. I'm not sure if you guys know about it, but I'd be happy to disseminate that information somehow. It's called The Wisdom of Trauma.
Put it in the chat.
I will. And it's on my Facebook page too, but I'll find a way to get it to you guys. Maybe I'll give my Instagram or something. I don't know. I'm new at social media, kind of. But anyway, it's a 7-day event, and it's going to be about more the unseen trauma that a lot of people don't address. It's probably going to, it's going to talk about how people got into prison. Okay. And the why. And I'm sure it's going to be powerful. I haven't seen the film yet, but there's going to be 7 days of presentations and workshops, and I'm planning on doing community events around it. So I really want to find out more about what y'all do and how you do it.
Perfect. Awesome.
So I'll zip it now. And you're amazing. You definitely have the spiritual gift of compassion. You definitely have the spiritual gift of mercy, or you developed it.
Working still on it.
Well, I have
goes
it.
Away.
Yeah, and I have it naturally, and I wanted to do work in prisons, and I realized that it's dangerous for me to do that, and you know why. I won't go any further with that one. Yeah, I can't do it. It's not an option for me, but doing work on the outside somehow, no problem.
Yep.
All right, before we wrap up, Neasley had her hand raised, and I want to be able to get her before we close.
Actually, I was about to point out to those 2 questions in the chat, and so you got to do that. That's really what I wanted to say, but I want to thank Penny and Pam so much. You can see why the work that they do really captivates me. And especially what Lisa just said, it is a mental health crisis. And what a lot of people don't recognize is that when people of color have mental health issues, they are not taken seriously. Case in point, we see what happened with Naomi Osaka. When she said she needed a break because she needed to care for her mental health, she was basically shamed. And not only was she shamed, she was threatened. And so she dropped out. And so people, thank goodness people, and I guess the work the mental health community has been doing has really, and the fact that they rallied around her, but this is a normal occurrence. This is what people of color, men and women, go through anytime. So on one hand, you don't really want to talk about the mental health because you already know it's not a safe place sometimes to talk about it, whether it's mental health or physical health. Same thing happened with Venus when she was sick. And so we're not believed when we're having a crisis. And so if we're having a mental health challenge and we're not believed, what is one thing becomes something else. And if it's not cared for, it becomes something else. And then that person spirals and spirals. Sometimes there's a crime committed, but people who've worked with people in jail will tell you that it's not always true that there was a crime committed. I work with a lot of women in DV who the only crime they had committed was fighting back their abuser. They fought back their abuser and they ended up in jail, and the abuser is still out committing more crimes. Mm-hmm. So that's all I wanted to share.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neasley. We're 4 or 5 minutes over time, so we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think so. Yes.
Thank you, Penny. So let's see. Thank you everybody for joining the conversation. Hope to see you all next week. We are going to be launching the promotion of the No Labels, No Walls Festival. Put the 25th and the 26th of August on your calendar. Let's create the action together. We'll meet here at the same time, same place, depending where your time zones are, of course. Be sure to check the link in the chat. We are going to host right now, actually. Who's gonna, let's see. Next week, Mary, will you be able to host? I know we had a little technicality.
Yes, I'll be here. I'll be here early. I'll make sure I'll start signing in early. So thank you, Kevin. I'll be the host. And
Okay.
thanks for amazing presentation.
Host,
you know,
Kevin.
just
Kevin?
can't say enough.
All right. Be sure to join us next week. I hope to
Kevin?
see you. Gonna
Kevin?
wrap up. What?
Kevin, you are amazing host. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll see you all next week. Have a great week, everybody. See ya.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't end it yet.
Yeah, we
Trying to
have
get the
to.
information for the movie.
Yes. Right. The movie.
Yes, it's on the chat.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me. Like I said, I just woke up. Let me get it, okay?
No, that's okay. You put something in, we can look it up. But I
Yeah,
just
you
have
can
to-
Google. You can
Be
Google
sure to
it.
join
yeah.
the No Labels, No Walls Facebook group so we can still connect.
Oh, I can post it on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, I saved the chat. We're good.
Yep. Go for it.
Okay,
Everybody.
awesome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.